I'm Holly Blazina. I'm a flamenco guitarist and I'm an Ayurvedic gut specialist. And for those of you who don't know what Ayurveda is, it's the ancient East Indian naturopathic system that developed alongside yoga. And the importance of that is that its principles are based on the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And one of the things that has been really exciting for me in listening to you, Gerald, is the similarities between your 4 directional ways and the knowledge that I have received in the Ayurvedic tradition. So that's the connection there, and that's where some of my questions and everything is coming from as well. So Gerald, I'm gonna just quickly let people know who you are, and then we'll take it away with some questions. So Gerald Auger is of Woodland Cree descent, a national Native role model, a spiritual leader, Indigenous relations consultant, entrepreneur, and award-winning director actor. He's a graduate of business management, specializing in marketing and management. And in 1996-97, Gerald was awarded the National Native Role Model Award by the Governor-General of Canada. He has worked with Hollywood for over 20 years as an actor and is now a director, writer, and producer. In 2009, he walked away from it all into the wilderness. His 6 years in the wilderness was to heal from childhood trauma, being the product of intergenerational impact from residential schools and colonization. The sabbatical reconnected Gerald with the Creator, ancestors, elders, ceremony, creation, and the original teachings. Gerald made a choice to go back to his traditional teachings and spiritual way of life to help bridge the gap between Indigenous peoples and the Western world so that our children and their children's children can live in a world filled with love, kindness, and compassion. A prophecy that speaks to him to this day: there will come a time in the Western world that the Western world will realize their values, beliefs, philosophies, and way of life does not work. They will realize this when mass chaos, confusion, mayhem, and destruction is rampant throughout the land, and will go sit at the sacred fire of the red man to relearn life. I think we're there. We're there. And so Gerald has been learning the original teachings and practicing ceremony with his ancestors, ceremonial elders, and traditional knowledge keepers for over 33 years. And so thank you so much for being here, Gerald, and for agreeing to have this conversation with me. And I'm just so excited to share your knowledge with my audience. And so I'm wondering, would you like to start with a prayer to open sacred space and the conversation?
Agutta nigan bitta mama tawin og simanto nanas kumao gom kakyo giso kakyo nanas kumta nasung gabim to tamagi wasum kui kumta kan nantum gi timi ganung gi smam skuchigi anung gisagi nawa ni hiawan ni gani gom yuk simanto gagi mit pik skui no ko pokam kakki ni gan stain anung ga humam skuchigi an gom kakyo gisagi nawa. So I want to thank the Creator for allowing me yet another day and for allowing me to be here. And I ask you to please forgive me for how I'm about to make you feel. And I love you all. I spoke in my Woodland Cree language because that's the language that I was blessed with by my Creator. And I always need to honor that part of my human being when I'm addressing my fellow human beings. So I thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. And hopefully we all walk away with a better understanding about life and the sacredness and the sanctity of life. And that we all walk away understanding that life is but a blip on the timeline of eternity. And that each and every day is a day closer going home to the Creator. And I always ask myself, how do I want to live this day? So I thank all of you, each and every one of you, for being here.
Beautiful. Thank you. And we just want you to know as well that any questions you have as we go along, you're welcome to just type those into the chat, and you'll also have an opportunity to ask questions at the end. So I'll start with some of mine since I have some ready. So Gerald, one of the things that I thought was really interesting was the way that you talked about the 1260 time frequency versus the 1328 time frequency. And I'm wondering if you would share a little bit more about that. So for those who weren't part of that conversation, that they would know a little bit about it, and share a little bit about the role that the 1328 has in healing.
Thank you, Holly, for that. And for me, the 6 years I spent in a wilderness, the ancestors that I've come to know had spoke of this time where the world is living right now, and the world has forgotten about Creator's time. The world has forgotten about the Creator's teachings. The world is living what we know as the 1260 frequency, and that 1260 frequency is there 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour, 12 months of the year, which is artificial time. Today, the world is getting sick. The world is getting stressed. The world is losing focus and losing themselves because they are chasing what we know as artificial time, being the clock that they wear and the calendar on the wall. They are chasing a clock and a calendar that they will never catch up to. And they've been programmed to do so. And hence why the world is in chaos right now, because we have forgotten about that side of life. For us as four directional people, prior to our European brothers coming onto Turtle Island, we followed what we know as the 1328 frequency. And that is Creator's time. That's real time. And that is where there's a full moon every 28 days, 13 times of the year. It was only the animal kingdom, the ones that swim, the ones that crawl, the ones that fly, and the four-leggeds are the ones who only live and understand that frequency, are living that time. So that's a part of it why I had to walk away in 2009 when I was told by my ancestors and the elders to walk away from this world that I had come to know, because I was losing my way. I was losing myself in the work I was doing, working with Hollywood and everything else that I was doing. So when I walked away, it was like I said, it wasn't my choice. I had to reconnect and understand what Creator's time really is, which is real time, the 1328, right? So today, now people tell themselves, well, I'm living in the moment, I'm living in the now, as they look at their clock or will look at that calendar running out the door, and they're chasing it and they're thinking, well, that's not what living in the now is. So, but trust me, I've had to learn that myself. I've had to learn to quiet the mind and connect it to the heart to be able to find that balance. And that's a part of it.
And so how does that relate to healing?
Well, for me, healing, because in my nation of where I come from in Northern Alberta in Canada, there were two residential schools in my nation, a Catholic residential school and then Anglican residential school. So I went through the emotional, the mental, the physical, sexual abuse as a child because of the residential schools, because of the intergenerational impact of the residential schools. So most of my young life, I was angry, I was hurt, I had resentment, I abused myself, I hurt myself, and I hurt other people because I didn't know how to live with the trauma that was inflicted on me. And so when I had to make a choice later on in my teen years, it was either 25 years behind bars or 6 feet under. But I chose to get a life. And the ancestors, that's when the ancestors and the elders that I knew had already been telling me, you have to make a choice. And that's either get a life and get back on this road that you're meant to be to help the people in the future, like I was told. So I chose to start looking at my demons, at the skeletons, at the monkeys, at the fears, at the doubts that I had because of this trauma I had experienced. And that in order for me to be able to literally listen to the silence, I had to understand what the 1328 frequency was, that I had to look at myself emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually as a human being. because the Creator had blessed us with these 4 parts of our human being for a reason, so we can live in balance with Creator's creation. The emotions that we've been given, the happiness, the anger, the sadness, the regret, the anger, is to help us evolve as spiritual beings housed in this human being, but it's also there to help us to get to know ourselves emotionally. Mentally, the mental part of our human being is what the world knows as comprehension, as understanding, how you understand yourself in the world you walk in and the world you've created, or yourself in the world you live in. And when you can understand the world around you, then you have a better sense and a better understanding of that everything and everyone is put on your path for a reason, to teach you about you and to teach you about life. The physical, obviously, is what houses our spiritual being, housed in this human being. And it's what we do to honor this physical being, this human being that's on loan to us from the Creator, to house our spirit. And what we do to this physical being will determine how we walk in this world. If we abuse this human being with alcohol, with drugs, or whatever it may be, that's not necessary for our human being, then there's consequence for that. It's like there's a consequence for everything. And spirituality is our spiritual being, is our higher power. We all have different, how we know our higher power as the source, Buddha, Allah, God, Creator, Jesus, however you see that being. And that for us, for me, it's the Creator. And that's my spiritual side of life. And to me, the Creator that I've come to know, the Creator has become my best friend. I laugh with my Creator. I joke with my Creator. I doubt my Creator. I question my Creator. I get mad at my Creator, because the Creator loves me unconditionally. And that's a part of why the Creator just wants me to have a human experience as a spiritual being, but also never to take life too serious where I forget to have a human experience. And that's a part of what it is for me, in understanding that when I say life is about a blip on a timeline of eternity, everybody listening in, 100 years from now, we're going to be in a different plane. It's what we do here in this physical world, using our words and our actions in life, will determine where we go when our physical walk is done. And I've come to know why natural law was created. And the world has forgotten about natural law, what the world knows as karma. What goes around comes around. And for us as 4-directional people, when I say 4-directional people, I'm talking about us as the indigenous people, the original peoples of Turtle Island. And that's a part of it. That's what I had to go back into the wilderness to reconnect with all that. Because the years I was traveling the world, getting paid to do it, and being treated like a rock star in Hollywood, I call it, I thought I was living a dream. And at the end of the day, I realized life was just going too fast for me. And that I decided to get off that train and go back up north and appreciate life for really what it is. So that's why, to me, the 13 understanding, but we live in 2 worlds. I have to walk in balance with the 1260 frequency and understanding the structure that the world operates on, that 1260. But at the same time, I also find balance with my 1328, meaning that I know everything and everyone is put on a path for a reason, to teach us about life and to teach us about ourselves. And I also look at life not from a victim mentality like I used to. Before 2009, I had the victim mentality. When life would go sideways and things would happen, I would say, oh, woe is me, why is this happening to me? Because I didn't know that balance, didn't have that balance within me. Today, now, when life goes sideways or things don't work out, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? I say, what is this teaching me? And that because I've become aware that there's a higher power, that there's something bigger in life than what we've been led to believe. And as this world is unraveling, as this world is correcting itself, that's what the world is humanity is being reminded what it has forgotten. And that's the spiritual side of life. So as the world is correcting itself, humanity is being reminded that what the world knows as magic, Disney magic, is what we've always known as spirituality, is returning back to humanity. And there are people who don't know what that means. And the ones who don't know what that means are the ones who are having these vivid dreams and not knowing what those dreams are saying. People who are having these synchronicities, not knowing why they see repeating numbers or things are happening the way they are, and they're running into people from the past, people that they've known, the good, the bad, and the ugly. People don't know why they're having these deja vus, and I have multiple deja vus during the day. Say, well, I've seen this day before, and that's a part of it. That's what the world is not understanding what's going on, and there are people, unfortunately, they are saying, well, nobody told me that this awakening was happening. Well, actually, we were told, we were warned, even since Y2K. We just chose not to listen, and that because if we had to listen, then we would have to live accordingly. And people always want to, they say, well, I don't have a choice. Well, we always have a choice. It's just we choose not to make the right choice sometimes. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So, and I know what happens when you don't make the right choices. So,
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of that. People not making good choices and then living with the consequences. And so, there's a question in the chat here. How can we bring this knowledge and spirituality to Europe where it's badly needed?
see, and that's the beautiful thing about, I know about Europe, my European brothers and sisters, that they're very open to receiving this knowledge when their ancestors came over the great water and that, but now there's a whole generation of Europeans who want to understand this knowledge. And this is why we have, the ancestors spoke of this time. They had said that there would come a time grandmother spider would cast a web around Mother Earth, bringing unity, knowledge, and healing to the world. And that was what we know as the World Wide Web. But people, just like everything else, there's no bad people in life. There are people who've lost their way, people who've lost their sense of common sense, people who are not connected to their consciousness, people who are making choices expecting a different outcome. And that a clear definition of insanity that they all say, right? So, but this is a part of it. This is why when you suggested we do this online, because this is real time. And this is a part of what I was told to start sharing the teachings. There's other light workers, there's other chosen ones, there's other starseeds in this world, ones listening in, who understand that this message needs to go to the world, to the masses. And that's why when opportunities present themselves for me to be doing something online, and that it's part of, I'm fulfilling my spiritual contract I had made with my creator to be born in this time, to bring that understanding of love, kindness, and compassion to a world living in darkness. Today, now, when people ask me, Gerald, how's the day? How's it going? Before I would say I'm living a dream in a world living a nightmare. But now I say I'm living a dream where the world is going through an awakening, and that's really what's going on in the world. People see people will see the term spiritual awakening, but most just see that as a word. They don't understand that there's a depth to that spirit awakening, right? So.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the things that you said to me was that we're entering into a time where the things that have been working for people to numb their pain, that those are no longer going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've always kind of known that those things, like those things you mentioned that are not necessary for the human body. And we've known for a long time that it doesn't really work, but your comments seem to imply that there was something that was about to happen that's going to be different. Can you describe?
Part of it was when I was told to walk away in 2009 and to go reconnect and to find that balance. Because we've come to live in a world where people will use distractions to numb what they need to look at for themselves, either emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually. They will use alcohol, they will use drugs, they will use whatever it is that they can use to numb what it is that they're not willing to face. what the ancestors had said was that those days are done. Now, when people use whatever they use to numb themselves, to distract themselves, is only going to amplify that sense of what it is they're trying to numb. If they're trying to numb their sadness, their hurt, their disconnection, their emptiness, if they're only trying to numb that emptiness by you creating a distraction, either be a friendship, a relationship, work, or material, or substances, it's only going to amplify that feeling of emptiness, because it's not going to work no more. And how I know that, because I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And that when I tried to numb what I was running from, when I was trying to numb the abandonment, the resentment, the anger, everything that came with my trauma, after a while, whatever I said numb it wouldn't work anymore. It only amplified it. And that's when I realized, that's when the ancestors said, well, now you know, you have no choice but to face what you need to face. And that's where the world is right now. And there will be those who will understand, who will do the work, but then there will be those who won't. And because it's what we know as natural law. Something goes up, something has to come down. Where there's hot, there's cold. Where there's night, there's day. There has to be, this is how we had looked at life as Puerto people. There's for every action, there is a reaction. And so what our European brothers and sisters brought over the Great Water, the knowledge, the understanding, the teachings that they brought, we already had them prior to European contact. We had our own government, we had our own system, we had our own educational system, and that's how we delivered it was different as to how it's delivered today. So that's a part of it. So, and that's kind of why you see so much chaos, confusion, mayhem, and the world falling apart, because the people who are resisting the new world that's emerging, the people who are resisting their healing, the ones who are resisting their truth, they're only making it harder for themselves. And that's a part of it. And when I say that, because I've been there, done that, got a t-shirt. What I'm sharing with you is something I've had to go through myself. I didn't learn it. I didn't read it from a book. I didn't learn it from a book, because I was told, when you look at that book doesn't have a spirit. Life has a spirit. Everything that we do, the land has a spirit, people, even these inanimate objects that the world knows as the rocks or grandfather rock. The world has come to believe that because it's inanimate, it doesn't have a spirit. Everything has a spirit, because the creator created everything, right? So that's a part of it, is where people don't understand that. I was asking the creator a couple of days, because I've been having some very vivid dreams. They've been showing me people running from their healing. They've shown me tsunamis coming, covering Mother Earth. This tidal waves of water coming, covering Mother Earth, and I couldn't see the people anywhere. I've seen a light fall from the sky. And everything, these vivids have been being very vivid. And that's a part of it, is where, and I asked the creator, so what's this? Why are these dreams getting more vivid? Why are they're getting a little intense? And the creator and the ancestors said, iwan gisksuta haisino atahun matsune. The creator said the human being has forgotten about the spiritual side of life. Because as spirit is returning back to humanity, the world has forgotten about that. And that we all have a spirit. Even the animals have a spirit. Even the elements have a spirit. Everything in life has a spirit, because the creator created all of that. But unfortunately, because of some religions, some faiths, academia, monetary system, the social class that the world has created, has divided the human family, has divided the human being. One of the greatest teachings that I learned from that man they know as Steve Jobs, who died a billionaire, when he said, of all the ego, of all the wealth, of all the power I amassed in this short walk on this world, I had people carry my work for me. I had people carry my stuff for me, but I can't have anybody carry my sickness for me. And that's a part of it, because once we go on that spirit journey back home to the creator, how we've lived our life in this world will determine how swift we get there, how safe we get there. People don't understand the only currency that'll be accepted in the doorway into the spirit world will be the love, kindness, and compassion you showed yourself and your fellow human being. You won't be able to take money with you. You won't be able to pay your way into heaven. It doesn't work that way. So that's a part of it. People don't understand that the spiritual side of life is returning back to humanity, and hence why this is why I do what I do in that sense, is because I had made a commitment to my Creator after I left the wilderness, after being 6 years deep in there, unplugged for 6 years. I said 50% of my life will be given back to humanity. The other 50% will be telling stories as a storyteller in Hollywood. So that's where things are at for me right now. So because I have a son and I have 2 granddaughters and a grandson. So everything now, when my son was born, the elders said to me right away, it's not about you anymore. It's about your son. And that's one of our original teachings. When we bring life in this world, it's up to us to show them the rites of passage. It's up to us to show them what life and what their role and responsibility is in life, right? So we're living in exciting times. For those of us who follow the spiritual road, these are exciting times for us, because the Western world is finally catching up to what the ancestors, the elders, had always been saying about where humanity was going and where humanity was going to end up coming to a crossroads in life. And here we are. So ready or not, that's what they say. Be careful what you ask for in life as well, because whether ready or not, it will come. And 2 of Creator's absolute laws that the Creator shared with me in the wilderness was, well, first it was the Creator loved us enough to grant us free will. We are free to make choices. We're not free from the consequences. If you do good things will come. If you do bad things will come. The old people say, if you're doing good things, then you're stacking good things for yourself in the future. They said. And if you're not doing good things with life, you'll drop everything in the future that you've been holding on to. That's not good for you. So that was that free will is a gift. It's not a privilege. But we as a human family have become arrogant, are operating from an ego-centric mentality. We use free will as a privilege, not a gift. And the Creator had said, 2 of the absolute laws is no human being has the right to play with another human being's life. And the second was no human being has the right to hurt another human being. So.
Wow. Yeah, so we have the opportunity, but we don't have the right to do that.
Well, we have the opportunity, just when people, including myself, there was a time where I told myself, well, I'll do this tomorrow. Then tomorrow became next week. Then next week became next month. Then next month became next year. And that's when I realized that life and time waits for no one. And that we are not in control when we go back home to our Creator on this spirit journey. Humanity has become yet so arrogant, they think they're in control of their spirit journey when they go home. And that I've become aware that's why every day I wake up, I say to my Creator, thank you for loaning me yet another day in this physical world. And each day for me can become an eternity, because I try and live my day like every day it's my last day. That's how I was able to find that balance with the 1260 frequency and the 1328 frequency is that. And that's so.
Thank you. And there's a question in the chat. Edie says, I believe online entrepreneurs can add spirituality to their business teachings. How do you see entrepreneurs could contribute to a better world through their online teachings in whatever their niche is? And she says, thank you. Partial ancestral roots, Eastern Band of the Cherokee Nation.
I love that because even business and like everything else in life, you know, when I was going to college, getting my education, and that I would always question the profs about the spiritual side of what I was learning in business. And that I had come to learn that some business practices and structures teach you dog eat dog world, but we don't have to live that. I don't live that. So what I do for the work that I do, I always have to look at even the business that as an entrepreneur, I have to look at, I put love, kindness, and compassion first and foremost on what I'm preparing or what I'm going to bring to the world. And I can't deceive the people because I've learned you can lie to yourself, to your fellow human being. You can't lie to the creator. The creator knows your true intentions behind your intentions, your reaction before your action in life. So for me, everything that I do, I'm working on developing a couple of businesses right now. And my intention behind my intention is to bring that awareness, that understanding through this platform of storytelling that I'm doing. So for me, like before I did this, what I always do is I will light my smudge. I will have my conversation with my creator. I will have my conversation with the ancestors, the star people, the people that and the ancestors that I know, and say, I ask you to speak through me, to bring that awareness, understanding to the world. And that's a part of it. So you can take those business teachings, and that's part of when I was told towards the end of my sabbatical to go fast for 7 days and 7 nights, no food, no water in the wilderness. I didn't hesitate when the elders and the ancestors told me to do that. Because after 4 days of no food, no water in your system, your body starts to shut itself down and prepares itself for the spirit journey. But because I love my creator, because I love my son and my grandson, who my first grandchild was born, and my fellow human being, I was prepared to give my life if that's what it meant for me to be able to do that for my son and my fellow human being. On the 7th night of my fast of no food, no water in the wilderness, the creator then took me into the light and showed me the 7 sacred laws that the human being had been given of love, humility, courage, respect, honesty, and truth and respect. And that these 7 laws were given to the human family to govern our words and our actions in life. And so everything that I do now, I always look at those 7 sacred teachings and understand that for my friend who's talking about the business teachings, yeah, just incorporate the spiritual teachings because the world is ready for those spiritual teachings now. And you would be surprised how many, when I post something on some of these professional networks like LinkedIn, and I put spiritual stuff there, and that because I always tell the people I'm not here to convince you or not convince you. It is what it is. I'm just relaying a message. And that, but whenever I post something spiritual, even on that professional network, you would be surprised how many scientists, how many therapists, how many business people will inbox me in private and say, thank you for saying what you're saying, because I don't have the courage to do that, because I don't want to be ostracized or ridiculed is what they'd say. And it says, well, it is what it is. And that's so, because that's what my late father had said to me. He said, if you're going to be a leader, if you're not challenging people, then you're not doing your job. And then you can challenge them in a good way. But one of the greatest teachings my father ever gave me was that when you're called to a meeting to sit with the people, you will let everybody say their 2 cents before you offer yours, because then you'll know where everybody sits and where everybody is in the of why they're there in that meeting. So yeah. So yes, you can incorporate the business teachings, I mean the spiritual teaching in your business practices, keeping in mind that the creator never sleeps, and the creator sees and hears all. And that so as this world is shifting and correcting itself, people who've lived behind closed doors, it won't work no more either. Just like how people won't work numbing or distracting themselves. Because this apocalypse that the world talks about, we as four directional people see that as a time of tabu nana yadum skopay, a time where the truth is being revealed. And that so everything that's happening in this world, the ancestors had said that this time was coming, and it's here. And that so the light that's going to the light that they said would fall from the sky is already, it's fallen already. And the next thing they had said after the light falls from the sky will be they will see a flash of light in the stars that'll shift the consciousness of humanity forever on that day. And unfortunately, there will be millions, if not billions, who will lose their minds, have heart attacks, or end their lives because they're not going to be able to comprehend what that flash of light in the stars is. And that, and hence it's already being revealed in, even the US government talks about the unidentified flying objects. So yeah, so that's why we say, well, we as four directional people who follow this way, we're not speculating about the star people. We know they exist. And so now it's just the world catching up. So, and hence a part of why I do this is to be able to, because I was told this is what you are to tell the people, share with the people. And there will be those who will say, well, you're just batshit crazy. Well, that's them. That doesn't matter to me none. I'm not obligated to them when they say that. But but you know what? It is what it is, because I know what it I know what I come from, a place of going into the wilderness. I was in a place of faith, of wanting to believe that the creator, that the ancestors, that spirit world existed. Even though I had dreams, I had prophetic dreams and visions prior to. But 6 years deep in the wilderness, I came out knowing that the creator exists, that the ancestors exist, the ancestors from the stars exist. And leaving the wilderness, they said to me, there's going to come a time where the women and men of wisdom will gather, the rainbow warriors will rise, and the ancestors from the stars will return. And when August the 21st of 2017 happened, that was what my late grandmother had told me on her deathbed. She, my maternal grandmother had said, "Uti ni gananisko, ipasugot. The witagawa wistawa, witagahamiupay, no itagaimihot. Igutanisko, isko we had pasugot," she had said. She said, there's going to come a time in the future, she said, that the woman is going to rise in the world. And that was when that great American solar eclipse happened, August the 21st of 2017. That's when the grandmother said, she said, and this is the time we talked about, that the patriarchal value society system ended on August the 21st of 2017. And it was the rise of the matriarchal value society system. And what happened in the fall of 2017, was the Me Too movement started. And it was this last solar eclipse that just happened, April the 8th, is when they said this is where the rainbow warriors were going to rise. And the rainbow warriors were going to be the misfits, the black sheep, the two spirits, the very human beings society had judged, condemned, and persecuted, and had said were less than. And these are the very ones that the world is going to run to in these times. And they said shortly after the rainbow warriors rise, but the rainbow warriors will have to find their balance in life, because there were those who would have lost their way and had forgotten those sacred original teachings. And shortly after the rainbow warriors rose, then the ancestors from the stars would return. And that's already in play.
Beautiful. And what do you think it takes to be an effective healer in this time?
Easy. Heal. What I mean by that is I was that wounded healer at one point in my life. I was that one trying to help the people heal when I myself wasn't there myself. That's why I had to go into the wilderness. I had to go look at that emotional, the mental, the physical, the sexual abuse I experienced as a child. And today, now, when I do my workshops and I work with the people, I always say, I want to thank the Creator for all the emotional, the mental, the physical, the sexual abuse I experienced as a child. And the people would say, well, why would you say that? And I said, because it's given me the authority to stand before you, because I had to heal from that trauma. And in order to be able to help your fellow human being, two of Creator's absolute laws come into play. We don't have the right to play with another human being's life, and we don't have the right to hurt another human being. I had to go into the wilderness to look at that trauma so I could find the light in that darkness in order for me to lead myself out from the darkness into the light. And there were days I was in the wilderness when I would be sitting out there and saying to myself, I feel like throwing in a towel. I don't want to be doing this no more. And I would just say, go back to my life. And then the ancestors would come and say, oh, well, what did you pray for coming out here into the wilderness? And I said, I prayed to help lead and guide the people in their time of pain, need, and suffering. And then they said, well, then how can you do that if you can't even do that for yourself? So the greatest thing you can do right now to help your fellow human being is to heal. Because hurt people will hurt people. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And so that's the greatest thing you can do and the greatest thing that you'll give your partner in life is your authentic self. And that's you in balance emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And today people wonder why the teachings have become more intense for the people, the trials and tribulations where they're literally falling to their knees. And they're asking themselves, why does this keep happening? Well, because you're not looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly of what happened to you in life. You're not looking to find a balance emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because these trials and these tribulations are actually blessings in disguise. And people, when they have nightmares, I used to have nightmares, and I thought that's what they were. They weren't nightmares. That was the Creator and the ancestors that I know speaking to me, showing me what I needed to look at to find that balance. But that's where the world has forgotten how to heal. The world has forgotten what healing looks like. The world has forgotten what healing feels like. And that's what I had to go do for myself, because I didn't want to be that guy and play with people's lives or hurt another human being, because I wasn't in a place of balance and I was trying to help them. And that's the hardest thing that people will do in this world, is looking at themselves. That's why they'd rather look outside of themselves than instead of looking within. And that's where it begins. But for me, it was 6 years, 24/7, 365 days a year, for 6 years intense. I was living and breathing it. One of my elders had said to me, I've never seen anybody so relentless on his healing. I want to know why you are that way. I said, well, because I'm here to heal. I got tired of being the weekend warrior, and that a weekend warrior in healing. And that's why for 6 years, 24/7, I did it for 6 years intense, because I know each day was a day closer to going home. And I wanted to really understand and appreciate life for really what it is, what it was, and what it is now. So that's what you can do, is heal. That's simple. If you want to be able to be an effective healer, well, heal. It's a part of it.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said about the being the weekend warrior, but also when you go about it, you cannot be a weekend warrior because you'll never get there.
No, because healing is not a destination, it's a journey. There will come a time on your healing journey, you will know that your subconscious is no longer dictating your words and your actions. You know your subconscious is dictating your words and your actions when you know you're about to do something that's not good for you, but you're going to do it anyway. And then, but now healing is really about learning all over again, all about yourself, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And you'll know your conscious is dictating when you know the difference between right and wrong. And then you will understand that consequence is real. And that then and that but for me, I learned was that the creator owes me nothing in this life. I owe it to myself to become who the creator created me to be. And that was a part of it. And the years I was in the wilderness, and I would fast for 4 days, 4 nights, or do ceremonies. And then I'd get up and I'd get on my pity pot and say, oh, woe is me. I don't want to have to look at this trauma, at this abandonment, at this anger, at this resentment, all of that. And I'd say, oh, woe is me. And then the elders would come to me and said, do you have a sound mind? And I said, yes. Do you have a sound body? And I said, yes. Do you have water to drink? And I said, yes. Do you have something to eat? And I said, yes. He said, what authority do you think you have to feel sorry for yourself? When there's children who woke up this morning, who lost their parents to sickness or to war, or there's people who are taking their very last breath as they begin their spirit journey and saying to themselves, I should have, I could have. To people who are losing their limbs, being amputated because of choices that they didn't make, and people that were living who had nothing in life. And when the ancestors and the elders would say that to me, I said, okay, well, you do have a point. So I'd get off my pity pot and I'd keep fighting a good fight for myself. So yeah, after a while, they said no holds barred. You wanted to know the truth? Well, here it is. So, and that's what I tell the people when they come and they say, I want to know the truth. And I ask them first, and they say, well, why do you want to know the truth? If they hesitate, then they're not ready. But if they can say why they want to know the truth, then they're ready. But I also tell them that be very mindful, because when you go down that rabbit hole, there is no turning back. And also be mindful that there are rabbit holes within that rabbit hole. And that so people don't get that. So yeah, quite the
You don't
journey,
get it, but we
but
will.
it's amazing. I love it. So
Thank you. There's a question in the chat of what methods or approaches do you use to help people heal?
what well, first off, I am but a conduit for my creator. I'm not the one who does the healing. I'm just the conduit. The creator uses this vessel that I have through the ceremonies, through the camps that I do, through the medicines that the creator has provided the human family, and that I'm just the steward and of this conduit, that this body that I use. So if somebody ever tells you I can heal you, then they don't understand the creator, because it's not us who does it, it's the creator and those that work for the creator. There are star people that I know, that I've sat with, that have come to me and visited me and said they are the ones who bring the healing that's needed in this world. They are the ones who bring that knowledge to this to Mother Earth. And that so it's so there's traditional medicines, there's ceremonies, there's fasting camps. But I always tell the people when they come for their healing and they says, well, what are you prepared to do for it? And they said, what do you mean? Well, what's your 50%? He said, you can come to ceremony. You can ask the creator, the grandfathers, the grandmothers, the ancestors for that guidance, that direction, and that healing. But it's also going to take your 50%. Your 50%, do your 50% to achieve it, to get it. And that if you think you can just come into this lodge and creator will hand you your healing, it doesn't work that way. If that's the case, you may as well just go to church and pray. and that because we don't do that. We do our 50%, and that, and the religion, even Joshua told me in the wilderness, he said, I never said I was religious, I'm spiritual. And I asked Joshua, that the world knows as Jesus, I asked him in the wilderness, he said, why do people live in sin 6 days a week and repent on the seventh day? And Joshua said, because if they ever acknowledged they understood the word, then they'd have to live accordingly. So they choose to live, and they're not ready to give their life to me. Is a part of it, right? So, and those are some of the truths that Joshua has shared with me. And that when that flash of light comes in the stars, people will see a truth of who Joshua really was at the same time, right? So.
Thank you. And what are some of the most important practices that you would suggest, like in terms of like a daily routine, or that's part of a person's routine? Which practices do you suggest that?
When gratitude can become an attitude, then the universe will return the favor. When you can have gratitude for the little, even for the things you don't have, then the universe always listens. When you have that ringing in your ear, that's a frequency of the universe is. And that, but for me, it's always when I get up in the morning, I say, Creator, thank you for allowing me yet another day in this world. Then I offer and I light my smudge, take my tobacco, and I offer and pray for my family, my mom, my brothers, my sisters, my son, his children, and those people I've come to know and in this world, and for those who are struggling. And I ask the Creator to watch over them, to guide them, to give them the direction that they need. And then I ask the ancestors to guide, to protect, to walk with them as well. And then I pray for myself after that. And that, because that's what the elders had told me. He says, I see how always pray for the people first and pray for yourself last. But also, don't ever forget yourself, they said. Because of the 7 sacred teachings, humility, there was 2 parts to humility, the Creator had said. The first part to humility was understanding that we're all equal. It does not matter what color, creed, religion, or faith you come from. It does not matter if you're here, or down here. We're all equal. And the second part to humility was putting the needs of others first, ahead of your own, but not to forget yourself. Because if you forget yourself, if Gerald was ever to crash and burn and go down, all the people around me would go down. So it's always to put the needs and wants of your fellow human being ahead of your own, but not to forget yourself. And then, so that's a part of it, right? And when he talked about love was the first one that the Creator showed me into the light. And the Creator said there's 3 parts to love. Who is the first one you are to love in this world? Creator said, Creator. To know love is to know the Creator. The second one you are to love in this world. Who is the second one you are to love in this world? And that's yourself. Because when you can love yourself, then you will understand what love really means. And the third one you are to love in this world, the Creator said, was your fellow human being. But when you say, I love you to your fellow human being, and you don't love yourself, then you're playing with that human being's life. You're hurting that human being. And this is where Creator's laws come into play. The Creator knows your true intentions behind your intentions, your reaction before your action in life. And the Creator never sleeps, and the Creator sees and hears all. And that's so that's a part of it. So that's why when they tell the people, well, I want to know the truth. Well, why do you want to know the truth? Because once the Creator knows you're listening, the ancestors know you're listening. And that's a part of it, right? It's that they now know. And that's a part of it, right? So
Beautiful. There's another question in the chat. Would the return of the ancestors to the star people be in our lifetime, or is that something for our children or grandchildren's lifetime?
They've always been here. The malevolent have always been here. The benevolent have always been here. A couple years ago, one of my elders that I know who has a Star Lodge as well had said to me, he phoned me up and he said, you know, the world that's shaking, all these earthquakes, is the benevolent are being blown up in the core of Mother Earth. And all these storms that we're having, these lightning flashes that are happening in the night sky, those are benevolence being blown up by the benevolence as they try and enter this realm, this part of Mother Earth. And so they've always been here. And they've just, one of the teachings I got when I was going after the star teachings, but they had said, one of the elders had said that they used to coexist with us here on this physical world, on Mother Earth, until one of the humans killed one of their own, and they stopped ceasing to exist with them. So they've never went anywhere. They've always been here. And that's why now, I remember somebody coming into ceremony and saying, in a ceremony, they said, I keep seeing these lights in the night sky. I don't know what they are. And that's when they said, that's us you're seeing. And yeah. So, but all I know was in 2017, the same day that they told me about August the 21st of 2017, I asked the ancestors. He says, I seen 3 star nations in the dreamscape. What was that? And that's when they said to me in 2000, and other people heard them, said that there's going to come a day, and that day is not that far off. Humanity will see that flash of light in the stars that'll shift the consciousness of humanity forever. Start telling the people. And you go back on my social media, you'll see me talking about that. And so, but again, like I say, one of my new mantras for this year, as we go into this new world that's emerging, is it is what it is. And that, you know what, so take it for what it is, and don't take it for what it is. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just a messenger. Power to you.
Yeah, exactly. So I have one last question, which is, you've mentioned that Mother Earth is righting herself and that she will do so quickly if we wake up in time. And so what is the key to our waking up as a humanity, and how does that relate, or does it relate to personal healing?
Well, Mother Earth is correcting herself for what we have done to her. And that's why the women that I see, women on the screen, are the most powerful and the most sacred beings on Mother Earth. We as men are strong physically, but the woman is stronger emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, because she's a nurturer, a caretaker, and a giver of life. Without the woman, we as a human family will cease to exist. Without our Mother Earth, we as a human family will cease to exist. And these 4 sacred elements that comprise creation, the earth, the wind, the water, the fire, are the very same elements that houses our spirit. The air that we breathe is the wind on the back of Mother Earth. The water that covers most of Mother Earth is why we as a human being is 61% water. The same DNA that's in that tree is the same DNA that's in our bones. That spark in our heart is the same spark that comes from Father, Son. And if one of these elements should ever cease to exist, we as a human family will cease to exist. But because humanity has put more value in money and in material than they do over their own children, because it's their children that they're putting the value over. Because when the air gets sick, which already is, the water gets sick, which already is, the land gets sick, which already is, and the fires that are happening is the cleansing that's happening. We're already being warned what we need to do as a human family. And I remember one of my elders asking them in the wilderness, what is it with these natural disasters that are happening? And this elder said, well, what happens when the children lose their way and just do as they please? The parents will step in to correct them. That being Father, Son, and Mother Earth. And Grandmother Moon does her thing at the same time. So when COVID happened, what happened to Mother Earth? She healed. She rested because people were not getting on those airplanes. People were not getting in those vehicles. People were not doing what they've been doing this whole time to hurt Mother Earth. But now that COVID is done and the world is accelerating, people say it's climate change, it's not. These natural disasters is Mother Earth reminding us what we have done to her. And we need to do our part in bringing that awareness and that understanding. I walked away from Hollywood for a reason, because I did not care for the material, the money that came with that. And that because I knew at the end of the day I was not going to be able to take that with me. And that's a part of it. And today now, and that's why and they had said in these times right now, the challenging, interesting times, there are two things that are happening, two types of human beings right now in this world. There are those human beings who appreciate life, who appreciate the elements, who appreciate the life that they've been given and doing their part to heal, to find balance, to serve their fellow human beings through the Creator. These are the light workers, the chosen ones, the starseeds, and the human being who understand life and appreciate it. And there's those other ones who don't have no regard for the elements, who put more value in money and material than they do over Mother Earth and their children. And those who who think it's all about them. It's about me, 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 me. And they don't understand why there are people getting sick in this world, losing their minds, getting physically sick, leaving the planet. Their lives are falling apart because they're not paying attention to what they're supposed to be doing. And that's a part of it, what the old people that say, don't ever feel sorry for anybody, because if you feel sorry for somebody, then you think you're better than them. Sympathize for them. Demagin, no. You can feel for them, but don't ever feel sorry for them because you think you're better than them. And one thing I've learned in this world, that judgment and observation are totally two different things. What I see in this world, I observe because I've lived it myself. And I always watch. I don't see the world through my physical eyes. I see the world through my heart, because that's how I observe life. And the longest and hardest journey you're going to make in this world is connecting your heart to your mind. The reason why that's going to be the hardest and longest journey you'll make is because you have to be willing to unlearn everything that sits between your heart and your mind. And what is that? Those are the eyes that you see the world through. Those are the ears you listen with. And those are the words that are spoken to you. You have to be willing to unlearn everything that doesn't speak to you. And we all have that conversation every day with people who say one thing to us and it's not resonating in here for us, because that's not our truth. And that's a part of it. So that's why the world is correcting itself. Mother Earth is correcting herself. Humanity is correcting itself for what we have forgotten about our higher power, whomever that may be, and how we have forgotten about our fellow human being, and how we have forgotten about the children. And the world is now realizing what natural law, the real value of natural law is. Because what goes around comes around. If you do good things will come. If you do bad things will come. And when those bad things come, then you're creating chaos. You're creating confusion. You're creating mayhem. And then you're creating destruction. And eternity is a long time to get it wrong. And I've learned that. I've seen eternity twice. First time, the dark side of eternity, when I wasn't living the life I was supposed to be living. And the other, the good side of eternity, which was all in the nanosecond, was all love and light. And that's a part of it. Because I've seen, I get prophetic dreams. I get I get a knowing, and I see and I sense things that are coming, and that. But I've had to learn to understand what those gifts and abilities were, to be able to help my fellow human being in their time of pain, need, and suffering. And there have been light workers, chosen ones, other star seeds who've come to ceremony, and they would say to the ancestors, I have this gift to heal. I have this gift to see. I have this gift of understanding or empathy. I don't want them. What do I do? And then the ancestors would say to them, where will your children, your family, and your community go in their time of pain, need, and suffering if you don't nurture and develop those gifts and abilities? And usually that's all it takes for them to get back and keep fighting the good fight. So, but that's a part of it. The world needs to have more of these conversations, and these are the original teachings of my ancestors. And these teachings I share with my fellow human being don't come from me. They come from the Creator. They come from spirit world. They come from the ancestors, from the stars. They come from other knowledge keepers, other light workers, other chosen ones. And we're all sharing the same message in a different way. And that's a part of it. So, and why it's so important to start sharing these knowledge and sharing these teachings, the elders had said and the ancestors had said, because the world has lost its way. And how will they know that they don't know that they don't know? But at the same time, there are those who don't know that they do know. They just choose not to do anything about it. And then when eternity comes a knocking, you got to answer it, whether whether like it or not. So, but that's a part of it. It's just like, I know life is 100 years from now, I'll be in a different plane, and that. But you know what? Up until that day comes, I will still fight the good fight to the best of my abilities. I will stumble and I will fall. It's part of being human. It's a part of the evolution. And I don't use judgment, condemnation, persecution against myself. I don't use guilt. I don't use shame, because Yeshua said you don't have the authority to judge, condemn, and persecute your fellow human being, including yourself. Yeshua said, and that you have no authority to do that. And that's a part of it, right? So that's why when you go to my YouTube channel and on my social media platform, I just relay the same message over and over, because sometimes it takes more than a few times for somebody to finally get it, because I've been there. I've been it said, and they tell I told you that already. He said, when? So but that's a part when you're young, we think we know it all, only to realize when we get older that we don't we'll never know it all. So part of it.
Wonderful. There's somebody in the chat who wants to know if they too can come in and sit in ceremony with you and with the elders.
I would be honored for that to happen. One of my helpers, his name is Ben Clayton. He's from London, England. He's been on this journey for 15 years. He's the one who will prepare ceremony, who will understand the protocols, teach the people the protocols. And I remember the elders saying, there's a reason why he sits in ceremony, and that because he gives his Western brothers and sisters permission to sit in ceremony, because ceremony is ceremony, spirit is spirit, healing is healing, trauma is trauma, blood is blood. And that then for us as a four-directional people, for those of us who follow the road and understand spirituality, that, you know, we're here to share what it is that we sacrifice for, what we suffer for. So by all means, the more the merrier. The more people come to ceremony and sit, the more light that they can take into the world with what they're learning. And that's a part of it. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing this very in-depth conversation. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the chat, but there's a lot of people who've been really inspired by what you've said and resonating very deeply with people. It's I think a lot of people are finding it to be affirming and confirming of other things that they've experienced. And so, yeah,
So
this
for those of you who've been having those prophetic dreams, and for those of you who've been seeing those shadows on your peripheral vision, for those of you who've been feeling that the energy of the world, sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it's light, sometimes it's that of the world. And that when you feel that, just put a spiritual protective barrier around you. But at the same time, people forget to talk to the creator every day. People forget to have that relationship with the creator. They only go to the creator in their bad times. They never go to the creator in their good times. And that's a part of, for me, I talk to the creator every day. Sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I'm talking to the creator and say, wow, that guy's batshit crazy. But it's what it is. It doesn't matter to me. It's my creator. So, but I don't openly do that, but yeah, but I'll pray. But that's a part of it. So when I have these dreams, it's usually the creator showing me what's coming and how I can pray for the people or pray for what's coming. And that sometimes I'll get these, what do you call those, premonitions. And I know something is coming. Just like last night, 2 nights ago, I could feel something is coming. So I sat and said, okay, creator, what's this sense? What is this sense I'm feeling? What is there something? What is that? Creator showed me the men of the world. The men of the world healing. The men of the world accepting their truth. The men of the world accepting that they've been operating from ego and they've been struggling in their life and they're coming to terms with of who they are as men. Was the other thing, was the creator had showed me that. 2 nights before that, the creator showed me these people. I'm in this big parking lot, and there's this one vehicle, it's a caravan, a minivan sitting in the center of the parking lot, and there's these people of all races running around this caravan, this minivan, being chased by a bear. And the people kept running and running, and they couldn't outrun the bear until they fell to their knees. And then I got up and I tapped in and I said, what's that, creator? And he said, the people are getting tired of running from their healing and they're about to heal. Because the bear is one of our healers. Bear has medicine. And the caravan, the minivan, is a family van, because the world has forgotten about family. The world has forgotten about the human family. The world has forgotten about healing, and they're about to go through that right now. So as this world is turning upside down, it has to turn upside down, because in order for the new world to emerge, the old world has to fall apart. So the new world will fall into place.